Hello, everybody. My name is Jose Nava. I will be your instructor for your class this quarter. As you can see, right now I am in my 1B winter of 2016 online class. But this presentation here, this video, is intended for all of my classes that I'll be teaching online, at least this quarter, if not this quarter, and possibly even next quarter in the spring of 2016. Um, so it applies to both 1B and 1C at the moment, and you should be able to see links to those classes on top here. At the moment, again, I'm in 1B. The This class uses three different sites. The main one will be ATUs. Obviously, that is your actual class. In the left side navigation panel, you will see that there's actually a lot of links, including two links here that go to external sites that are part of the class. My accounting lab is the place you go to take tests, to do homework, and then other things that you'll be doing there under MAL or in my MAL. There's also a dashboard. That's what I use to package your instructions for the class. And I'll show both of those separately in a bit. So let's just talk about ATUs for the moment. Notice again that there's actually three sort of sections in the home page here. The left side navigation panel, which includes the announcements, which I will use every day, every couple of days. Make sure you read every announcement every time I make one. So you should be logging into the class every day, if at all possible. There's also assignments, tests, and surveys, or ATS. We don't use this as much. Normally, I don't only use that for your upload of your project file at the end of the quarter. Discussions and private messages, that's what we use for the actual interaction between you and me and between yourselves when in terms of getting questions, asking questions and also getting help or helping others. So that's the main tool we use. And if I go there, you will see that I have structured the discussion threads based on the topic. So the orientation forum is about questions that relate to the orientation itself. My office is sort of the question you might have related to the administrative portion of the class. Student lounge is for you to use for your own use, including your own bios you're going to be posting there, as part of your orientation tasks. You may want to use this for study groups and also other things that you might want to do on your own as a class. Um, Officially, what this is mostly used for is for you to ask and respond to questions regarding your chapter reading and the homework, the assigned homework for each chapter. So I have created discussion threads for each homework item individually so that we can actually keep track of the questions that relate to each topic separately. Anything that doesn't fit into either the assigned homework or the reading, you can place it into the other. And the same thing applies to every chapter. Going back out to the home page, again, we were here. There's also chats. Chats we don't use as much. It's just simply for your use to communicate with each other in real time if you wish. At times, and you do have office hours in there, so at this point, I haven't decided whether I should do that or not. Resources are more in ATUs because there's also another resources tab inside of the dashboard, so don't get those two confused. Resources under ATUs is for basically handouts and PDF files that are sort of archives and duplicates of other files that I will place in other locations, but you can always come here and access those at the moment. Syllabus, that's an external Google Doc. Inside of that syllabus is a class calendar that also reflects your assignments and your specific homework items that you will be solving for each homework. And so this is the same document, but you can have quick access to those two, to the syllabus and to the class calendar uh, conveniently here. This again, as I said before, these two links to these two other external sites, and then there's also a link to the grade book that you'll be using to keep track of your grade. Each of you will have a specific workbook inside, I'm sorry, worksheet inside of a workbook that is Google spreadsheet based, and that way you can keep track of your grade basically on an ongoing basis throughout the quarter. I'll send you an ID that I will generate for you via private messages here, which is what we're using to communicate with me individually and privately throughout the quarter. Do not use email, please. And anyway, a gradebook is another one of those pages that are actually housed underneath the dashboard in any case. So let's go there now. Let's go to the actual dashboard for your class. It looks like this. And as you can see, there's actually tabs across the top. Here's the initial page as it explains what the dashboard is about, with some links to some resources on the left side. There's the weekly agenda page, which has the specific detail for each of your weeks. It looks like this. Notice that again, deliverables are the actual items you submit for a grade, whereas the to-do is more detailed that suggests what you should be doing to get these actual deliverables done in the best way you can. There's also a modules tab that lists the modules for each chapter. So for example, in Accounting 1B, I've got module 10 for chapter 10. And if I click on that, it will take me to the actual sort of, the content for chapter 10 that I developed along with the lecture notes that the authors of the textbook provided. So it's a mixture of both. The overview for the modules looks like this, gives you the learning objectives, the submission, the items, which is again, it's the same thing as you see in the agenda in the class calendar, but it's also written here. And my suggested approach for how you solve those deliverables. There's also a tab in the module for your lecture notes, and again, you can actually access those here. And on the right side here, you can navigate to each of the individual learning objective lecture notes that were again are a combination of both my own notes and the notes coming from the authors. In terms of the homework, it's under the homework page. It will be listed this way. Is by the type of homework item, and they're linked in some cases to actual answer keys, which also, again, it might be an Excel spreadsheet, it might be a document, it might be some other kind of document, but it will include, in addition to just the answer keys at times, will include my own insight to them. And in addition, there will be other handouts and maybe even links to some movies that come directly from Mal. And then my file cabinet, you will see some resources such as PowerPoints and some other things that you might be useful for that specific chapter. Going back to my dashboard, there's also, again, going back to the modules tab, there are also instructions for the project, which they're not going to be ready for you until later in the term. But as you can see, it will be listed here. And there's also some links to some of the required class activities, CA1 through CA4. And as we get later on in the term, you'll be able to go into each of these and see what is required for each class activities. They're pretty simple, but just it's a way for me to expose you to different things that relate to accounting. The first one you'll be going to will be CA1, which is your orientation tasks. If I go there, you'll see that you have 3 tasks. You have to do the quiz that tells me that you've actually reviewed etudes, MAL, and the dashboard, so you know how the class is set up. That's this link here. You go take that quiz in ProProfs and you're done. I'll transfer the score there into your gradebook eventually. You also do a brief bio in the student lounge in the discussion threads. So you have to go to H's to do that and follow these instructions here. And finally, you'll be able to then also register into our MAL section. and there's instructions for that in the syllabus in section SY3. So these are the actual instructions for your orientation tasks, or CA1. And notice that if I go back to my weekly agenda, that's what it says here. CA1 is due this week. So if you want to have more specifics, then you see again under the deliverable section, orientation tasks, CA1 is due Thursday, 11:45, which again reflects what you see in the class calendar. Later in the week, you'll be doing reading check 10, which now gets into the actual content of the chapter, and you'll be able to then submit this reading check, which is a very simple quiz to check that you read the chapter, and it's based on the pages that I have listed here, and also you can review, if you wish, the lecture notes. Eventually, in next week, you you will notice that there is a homework due for this chapter. It's based on these items that I have listed here, coming from your textbook, and explained in terms of how they're solved in the dashboard. Going back to the dashboard, where am I here? Again, it's under these homework pages. You will see how I solve those problems. So you actually have always a way to actually learn how to solve the problems for everything here. And finally, I will just show you that there's also a gradebook tab here, and I will place your gradebook on an ongoing basis every couple of weeks. There will be a 1 or 2 week lag, but you'll be able to figure out your grade moving forward. That's the dashboard. Let me go back to the ATU's homepage, and I will actually show you one more thing. Again, if I click on MAL, you'll get here to this page. You will first register as a student if you have never used MAL before, and it will take you through a process. You will need both a course ID, which is in your syllabus, section SY3, and also your access code that came with your textbook. When you buy it at the bookstore, you have that access code. If you bought this book for a different class, accounting 1A, for example, in the previous quarter, then you actually already have that access code. You already have an account. You don't need to do this again. You just simply sign in into your account, and you just add that section using the course ID. I'm going to right now log into my own account in MAL, and I have 2 courses at the moment for this quarter. You probably have at least you'll have one of these, whether you're 1B or 1C, or even 1A if it was a different quarter, if I were teaching 1A. And then at the moment I'm going to click into 1C and just show you that the setup is pretty simple. You're going to be going to assignments, and that's where I'll be including all of your graded items. So reading checks for the reading, homework for the homeworks, obviously. And they'll say graded if they are actually deliverables. The ones that are not do not say graded are just simply optional, just for your own additional practice. And follow the deadlines. Okay, that's important. And let's see, that's assignments. Once you do your those items, you'll be able to check the results under this results page. If you want to access your ebook, you can always go to course eText and click on this link, complete recent eText. And finally, I will just show you one more item that is quite important, I think, if you are actually, even though this is actually a different textbook for 1B than for 1C at the moment, or even for 1A, it works the same way. For example, I'm going to go into chapter 10, and I can have access to different kinds of resources, including videos and study guides, PowerPoints, Excels, and so on. There's a lot of very good stuff here. And so if I click on that, I see some, these are actually some videos that I can click on and view that relate to the chapter. I've transfer some of these videos over to the module, and so you can always access these either through here or to the module itself. And the module, obviously, I place it in the correct location that relates to each topic. So it's up to you. So there you have it. You've got basically, again, a very broad and brief overview of both of Etudes, the dashboard, and my accounting lab. I hope this is going to be a good, adventure for you. Accounting is an exciting field and has a lot of potential for a great career. And so hopefully you enjoy learning accounting. Take care. Have fun.